Hi, and welcome to Why Not with Janice, and I'm your host, Janice. Our show's about helping others to reach their goals. Tonight we have a spectacular guest on our show. The topic of our show is laughter is the best medicine, and I wholeheartedly believe laughter can cheer you up and get you from feeling down and glum to happy and perky. Today we have a guest. His name is Annivar Salgado. He is a comedian, a producer, a musician. He is just an extraordinaire of everything in the entertainment. So help me welcome my guest. Welcome to our show, Annivar. How are you?
Very good, Janice. Thank you for having me. I'm glad
Hi.
to be here.
Glad. So out of all your special talents, you love being a comedian. That's
I
when
do.
you're meeting one.
I do.
How did you get started?
Well, I probably was funny when I was younger, but didn't know it. And I ended up doing an internship at ABC Television in 1985, and halfway through my internship, I got hired as a production assistant, which I wasn't looking to do. I'm actually a theater major. I was a theater major at Northeastern University.
Oh, wow.
And my goal was to be a theater person, either an actor or a director, and sort of got sucked up into this television world that I didn't really want to do, but ended up doing for the next 10 years. Oh, wow. And it was good that it happened, because it showed me a lot of things that I didn't know, and I met a lot of people that I got to become really great friends with. But in the process of working there, I was kind of the jokester guy in the room. There was the other guy that hired me, actually, his name was Christopher Bowen. He's from Boston. He was a very likable, very good-looking, tall guy who was the jokester at the time. He was a guy that everybody would get a laugh out of. And as the time went by, I actually said to him, you know, one day I'm actually going to top you. And he didn't believe me until the day he asked me very seriously. He actually kind of yelled at me because I had taken a day off to go see my dad. And then the next day he came in and he said, I'm sure you really were at a bar or something. And I said, no, it was actually, you see, my dad. My dad actually passed away right after that. And so he felt kind of bad that he said that to me. Wow. And I was standing at my desk, and he was sitting at his desk behind me. And he said, so how did your dad pass away? And I said, like this. And I crumbled to the ground like a piece of paper. And he lost it. He just completely lost it because it was so unexpected. I didn't even, I just kind of did it. And then he came over and he said, you win. So wow. he kind of was the catalyst behind it. They opened a comedy club in Chicago called The Funny Firm back around the same time. And they were doing open mics on Monday nights. And I'd heard about it, but I didn't know that I had a stand-up persona, per se. I love stand-up comic. My favorite comic of all time is Jonathan Winters, followed closely by Robin Williams, because I think their brand of humor was a lot like my brand of humor, is where it kind of comes off the top of your head a lot. And so they told me about it, and they said, you know, you should do the open mic. And I said, no, I'm funny here. Funny in the office is not like funny on a stage with a bunch of strangers. And so they made me a veiled threat, is what they said. They said, you're either going to do the open mic or you're going to stop trying to be funny here.
Oh, wow.
That was their and this was Christopher was the guy who started it. So I said, okay. And when I signed up, I had a month because they were very booked. So I signed up, I think, in September, and I had a whole month before my time was coming up. You had to do 6 minutes on a Monday night. I didn't know what kind of crowd they got. Luckily for me, one of the editors owned a bar for many, many years, and he had stand-up at his bar. In fact, he was good friends with Richard Pryor when Richard Pryor first got started. Oh, wow. They would go drinking. And so when he found out about it, him and I were good friends, and he goes, you know, you can't just go up there with no idea of what you're going to do. You have to write some material, and it's got to be, and so he gave me the structure that I needed. And we would sit in his edit suite after everybody was gone, and he would rehearse me, and he'd say, nope, that's not going to work, that's no good, this works, this doesn't, go write something else. We had to get to 6 minutes. When you think about 6 minutes, you think, what's 6 minutes? It's you know, everybody says, I'll see you in 5 minutes. 6 minutes of standing in front of a crowd of strangers can seem like an eternity.
Really?
So, yeah, very much so. So he worked me through it, and the day came, the Monday night came, and I went to the Funny Firm, and I got up, I got introduced. The guy got up and he said, we have a first-time comedian. His name is Annivar Salgado. Please welcome. So I went up, and the first part was good because he was about 6'3", and he had the microphone set for himself. So when I got up, you know, the mic was here and I was here. So it was a good visual laugh. So right away, I kind of got the audience. What happened next surprised me to no end and made me very nervous. I was already nervous, but it made me more nervous. The minute that I hit the stage, right after that one first laugh, there were about 10 people there from my office, and they all stood up. And they all had teachers that said, "Yuck it up with Annivar."
Oh, wow.
And the audience is looking around trying to figure out who is this guy that he's got a fan club with t-shirts.
Wow.
So that got me nervous. I ended up doing all 6 minutes in about a minute and a half.
Oh, wow.
I was like, my name is Annivar, I'm Puerto Rican, I grew up in Chicago. I was going that fast. And then I ended, and I didn't have any other material because I'd gone through what my friend and I had rehearsed. And it was the year that Joe Biden got caught plagiarizing a speech from John Kennedy. And so I said, you know, I'm out of stuff. And people kind of giggled, and then I said, my name's Joe Biden, I'm out of stuff. And they got the plagiarism joke, and then the owner came back up, the manager owner came back up, got a round of applause. When he asked the audience, I know Annivar was nervous, first time, how many people would like to see him back next week? And the place exploded. There were probably 400 people there, which was really touching. And so he said, you're going to come back next week, and he said, we're going to slow him down. We don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to slow him down. And so he let me do an open mic for roughly about 6 months. Every Monday night, I became kind of a regular, and I got a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit slower. I got my timing down because, you know, they say the biggest thing about stand-up comedy is timing. If you don't have your timing, you lose it. And I had to learn that early on because part of it was nervous.
For the punches,
right, exactly.
Wait for the audience to do the reaction.
Exactly.
The timing for the next cue. Right,
And
and getting it all in 6 minutes.
Yeah, I had none of that. And you always had only 6 minutes. And actually, my first paying gig came from an open mic there. There was a guy who had a club in Dalton. And he saw me, and Sylvia Perez from ABC was doing a piece.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I was still working at ABC at the time, so I knew Sylvia, but I don't think that was why she interviewed me. But she ended up interviewing me on why I did because the club was very new. Why I was doing, and stand-up was really hot in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And after I did my interview, the guy walked over to Sylvia and said, I'm going to give this guy his first paying gig.
Oh, wow.
And so I went down to Dalton and did it. My very, very first paying gig was in Dalton, Illinois as an MC. Wow. And so that was kind of fun.
Cool. Now, besides even comedian, you also are a musician. Okay. So how did those even connect? And did you just start it as a musician before being a comedian?
Yes, way before. I started out I play percussion. I play hand percussion, not so much. I can play a drum set, but not really well. I can play hand percussion very well.
Okay, the bongos.
Bongos, congas, timbales. It's called Latin percussion. Sometimes people call them toys. Tambourines fall in there, shaker, things like that.
Okay.
It started out because I would sit at home and bang on the table.
And my mom upset.
Yeah, my mom was annoyed, would be the better word. And so one day for my birthday, she went out and she bought a set of bongos, probably for $5 at a pawn shop, and they had glitter all the way around, so they were kind of really obnoxious. And she gave them to me and said, go bang on this, get away from my table. So I did that for a while, and then when I turned 19, I joined the Navy.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I thought that I knew how to play percussion. And then I met a Puerto Rican guy from New York who really knew how to play percussion. And so what I was trying to do with my little toy bongo set, he was like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's not right. And so he showed me a bunch of things, and then I got a little better set of bongos and started playing with those. And he always had a conga with him, and so he showed me some things on the conga. We got to be really good friends. We'd go up on the deck and jam when we were out at sea, and it became two things. It became a way for me to learn music and an instrument that I grew to love, but it also was a great way to get out frustrations.
Okay.
I think as a stand-up, I was quite a nonconformist, which in the service is a really bad thing. Oh, wow. I mean, I knew the captain better than his wife knew him because I saw him so many times, I think. I was almost always up in the captain's cabin getting
chewed out
for something that I did that was not regulation. So it was a good way to kind of get your frustrations out.
So music and comedy actually
right.
helps
And
stress.
Comedy wasn't so much back when I was in the Navy. I could have used a little more comedy back in the Navy.
Yeah.
My comedy roots, I would say, go back to my dad. My dad, when we were younger, was not a great dad. He drank a little bit too much, and he wasn't home a lot, but he was home. And he never abandoned us. And he played a little bit of guitar, so my music, a little bit of my music comes from that. But what my dad was really good at was telling jokes.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't tell good jokes. But he could tell a joke. He had good timing. And his bit was he would tell you a joke, and then he would tell you the punchline, and the guy fell down, and you would snicker. But it wasn't as big a laugh as he thought he should get. And so 10 minutes later, he'd tell you the punchline again. And he would keep telling you just the punchline until he got the laugh he thought you should have given him the first time, and then he would stop.
Okay.
And he would do that a lot. And his jokes were always in Spanish, so to translate any of his jokes would be really too hard to do. But one thing that I caught from him was that when he was telling jokes, when he was playing music, he was a different guy from when he wasn't doing that and he was drinking.
Okay.
And in fact, the last 5 years of his life, my brother and I kind of took care of him. And so we developed a relationship in 5 years with the guy we wanted to develop a relationship over the course of our childhood that we didn't have. And a lot of the comedy came out of that as well, because we found out even more of his sense of humor.
Okay.
Like he would trick us and say he didn't have his asthma pump when we took him out somewhere, and he really did. But he'd make a big thing, and then he'd start laughing at us because we obviously were ready to call 911. And he thought that was hilariously funny. We didn't think it was funny, but he thought it was just a hoot. So over the course of those 5 years. So you even
connected with your dad through the comedy and through the music.
And through the music, yes. In fact, my brother's a guitar player, and we had a little band in high school. And so he picked up the guitar from my dad. I picked up percussion from just kind of listening to people. And through the years, that's how I've learned. I've never learned to read music. I can kind of follow music a little bit, but I never learned to specifically read music. I've never had a formal lesson. But I would go to somewhere where there was a band, especially in the Navy. Every enlisted men's club in every port has a band, usually have a live band. Philippines, Hong Kong, I was all over the world. And I would just blatantly go up to if they had a percussionist, I would talk to that guy. If they didn't, I would talk to the drummer. And I always carried a little bag with bongos. I looked like a doctor walking into the club. Little black bag, looked like, they didn't know, it was a set of bongos. And I would get to know the drummer, and I'd say, I play a little bit of bongos. And they'd be like, oh, well, you should come up in the third set. So if there was nobody there that could show me something, I would sit in with the band. And the drummers were always really good about saying, if you do this rhythm, it would work better with this song. And if there was a percussionist, an actual percussionist with congas or timbales or whatever, they were nice enough during the break to say, hey, I said, how did you do that? I saw you cross your hands over. How'd you get this sound? And they would show me. I met some really terrific people who were very generous with their time and their talent. So I was fortunate in that regard.
And you also got to play actually in front of some of your shipmates.
And I got to play in front of my shipmates who used to, again, like my mom, would get very annoyed that I would sit on the deck and play bongos to no music. Because percussionists, I think, carry a beat in their head. Music to me is, everybody's musical. Even if you're not musical, you're musical, because you can't live, you can't breathe unless you have rhythm, because your heart is a beat. Your heartbeat is the first rhythm you learn from birth. When you're born, the first thing they listen for is what? Your heartbeat. The heartbeat. So once they know they got that beat, that constant, like a 4/4 beat, that's your life beat. And so some of us take it a little further and become musicians, but all of us have it. We all have rhythm. Everyone has rhythm, no matter who you are. to me, there's no such thing as someone with two left feet. There's just someone who hasn't figured out how to use the right and the left. It's because dancing, my wife and I were dancers too. We were in competitions back in the disco days.
Wow.
If you can imagine me in white pants and a red vest doing disco lifts.
Wow.
Now you wouldn't, but back then.
Wow.
And so we, that's how we met dancing, and we would take that, and it's a balancing act. You're on your left, and your weight's on your left, and you shift to your right. And music is the same thing. With bongos and percussion, you're mostly on the right, but then every once in a while you shift to the other drum. And I think all of us do that in life. I think we shift, and if you shift the right way, the good things happen. Sometimes you shift the wrong way, something bad happens. Then you learn and you shift the right way. So I think music kind of just moves everybody throughout the whole world, I think. I think it does.
Now your band, and we're going to go back to the comedy side, but your band actually just played recently.
We did. We actually just did 2 gigs this weekend. We did 2 benefits. We did one in Downers Grove that raised money for District 58 for kids in school that need money for lunches and stuff like that. And we've done that the last 3 years. And then yesterday we did a really cool thing called Rocking the Cause.
Rocking the Cause.
And it's an organization. It's a 501c. It was started by a couple named David and Donna Rice and a gentleman named Jack Berzino, who passed away a couple of years ago. Sadly, we lost him. And another gentleman and his wife named Rich and Ruth Moore, who own Shanahan's, where you've been in Woodridge.
Right.
So Rocking the Cause is an event. There were 10 bands. We started at noon. We played till 9. All the bands donated their time. Nobody got paid. All of the money, 100% of the proceeds, go to help buy instruments or lessons for kids who want to do music but can't afford an instrument or can't afford lessons.
Wow, that's a wonderful project.
Yeah, so it's musicians playing music to help kids learn music so that music can continue into the future.
Right.
Is how we do it.
That's great.
It was a great event.
What's the name of your band?
I have 2 bands. One is called GMRC.
GMRC. Okay.
Which stands for George, Mike, Rick, and Chris.
Okay.
I know, there's no A. Isn't that sad? There is no A. There is no A. And the reason there's no A is that they put this band together. The drummer invited me to go and do a feature with them, just be a featured percussionist when their first gig came up. And I said, well, I can be there, but I can't be there till the second set because I'm at a wedding. So I left my friend's wedding early and we went there. They set up all my stuff. Well, we played the second set and everybody thought we'd been together for a long time.
Oh, okay.
We just, sometimes musicians they're soulmates. They just gel.
They can click, yeah.
You don't have to play together for 20 years. You can play together for 10 minutes and you gel. And that's what happened. The 5 of us just clicked.
Oh, okay.
Where that one night, we were so on that people thought we'd been together for 10 or 15 years.
Wow.
And we said, well, no, because it said GMRC featuring Annivar on percussion.
Oh, okay.
And so we decided we'd keep the 5 of us together, but we didn't have a need to add the A.
Oh, okay.
I said, well, let's take off the featuring. I don't need to be featured anymore.
Okay.
And I don't care about the A. I really didn't. I thought GMRC was a long enough initials acronym kind of thing to get us where we needed to go.
And you have a second band also.
And I'm in another band called Tara, which is, it's kind of like what the bass player said, he named the band. It's, in Spanish, guitar is guitarra. So he took the G off and took Tara. So it's just Tara, T-A-R-R-A. And we are...
T-A-R-R-A.
T-A-R-R-A. We're on Facebook
They
under
can find it on
G-Tara.
Facebook too.
GMRC's on Facebook too.
Okay.
And we play a lot of rhythm and blues, rock, and Santana. If you're a percussionist and you're in a band, you're going to play Santana. And if you don't play it, everybody gets mad. They're like, I can't believe you didn't play Santana.
Okay.
So we do a lot of Santana. Yesterday, what we did was a 45-minute Santana tribute.
Oh, okay.
We just played all Santana music.
Wow. Great.
But I like playing all kinds of music.
All kind of music.
I mean, when I sit in with a band and they say, what do you want to play? I'm like, just play whatever you want, and I'll just jump in. And they're like, well, we'll do some Santana. I'm like, that's okay, but I like George Benson too. I like Sade. I like a lot of different music. I like an eclectic mix of music. My favorite kind of music, believe it or not, is big band.
Oh, okay.
I believe I was born late. I believe I was supposed to be born in the 50s and be playing with a big band.
Oh, okay.
Because I love swing music and jazz and all the greats, Count Basie and Duke Ellington and all of those. Those are my favorite kinds of big bands. Okay. And my all-time favorite music artist is Dean Martin.
Oh, wow, Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I could listen to Dean Martin all day long.
Okay. And actually, unfortunately, a lot of that music is starting to die away. The younger people aren't picking that back up anymore, which is pretty sad. I do like that music. I love Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra. Loved all that music.
Oh, I love the Rat Pack. I really do.
Yes.
I don't know why. I mean, I grew up. My parents are Puerto Rican. My dad came from Puerto Rico in 1953. He bought the guitar that I still have in 1953. And for some unknown reason, my dad, traditionally, he should have moved to Humboldt Park. That's where all the Puerto Ricans were in Chicago. But he didn't. He moved to Taylor and Western, which at the time was Little Italy. I mean, it was all Italians and a couple Polish families. And here we were in the middle of this Italian culture. But it worked because, and I'm a firm believer, Janice, that we are all part of a chess game. And there's only one guy moving the pieces, or girl.
Right.
And he puts you where he needs to put you. And he put my dad here. For whatever reason.
Right.
He said, you're not going to go to Humboldt Park. You're going to live here. And we lived there for 13, 14 years. Okay. And he said, and by the way, you're going to be the janitor of this Catholic school and church. You know why? Because all of his kids got a free Catholic education.
Wow.
That we could not have afforded otherwise. So I got 8 full years of Catholic education because my father, for whatever reason, decided not to go where all the other Puerto Ricans were going.
Right.
He decided to go here. I didn't know why. And so I got to see lawyers, doctors, tailors. I got to see such a broad variety of people in what they do for a living that I don't think I would ever have seen in Humboldt Park.
Right.
And I'm not saying growing up in Humboldt Park is bad. I mean, back then it was a worse area to live in because there were a lot of gangs and stuff. But I think you see one thing. You saw one culture doing one thing all the time. We were fortunate that my brothers and sisters, there were 6 of us, and we've all exceeded what we thought we would be. I mean, from where I was with my dad, he was a janitor of a church making $300 a month. That was it. And we got 8 years of free Catholic education. I went to a good high school. I joined the Navy. I worked for ABC Television. I own my own company. Now I work for a nonprofit, and I do video production for special education teachers. I mean, to come from here to here, there are days when I'm just bewildered. I just sit there and go, how the hell did I get from here? And I'm so grateful because I know it wasn't me. I know part of it was hard work and dedication and learning and doing the things I did. But I really believe a bigger part of it was a higher calling that told my dad to go there. That had us started. That was the catalyst of him being there.
Absolutely.
And so I always just kind of feel incredibly grateful.
Yeah, I know I am nothing without God. And I know everything that I've accomplished and I do in my future, it's all because of God loving me and showing me favor. And
absolutely.
And when you say with the chess pieces, if you are the movie with the bongo, if I moved to the left a couple times, you had to go back to the right.
Exactly.
And
even my wife, when I met my wife, and my wife and I will be married 39 years in October, and you've met my son Andrew. I have another son named Armand, who's he's great with IT, and he's also a car mechanic, and he's given us 2 beautiful grandchildren. The reason I met my wife was because I went to a club where my brother was a DJ, and he told me the girl in black could dance really well, and I was into dancing. And so I was going to ask her to dance, and right before I walked over, there were 2 women who were together, got up, went to the bathroom. Well, the other girl in black, who I was supposed to ask to dance, was 6'1". But my wife, who was her friend, is 5'3". So when they came back, I wasn't going to ask the tall girl, so I asked her. Again, the chess. The chess pieces. Put her there, put me there, and then we started dancing, and we kind of hit it off. She gave me 3 wrong numbers initially for some reason. She's Italian, and she grew up in Humboldt Park, and I think her initial thoughts were, when she found out I was Puerto Rican, she had some trepidation, and so she wasn't real sure she wanted to get to know me. And so I think she liked me right away. I don't know that she'd admit that, but she gave me these 3 wrong numbers, and we kept meeting. We went to the same club, so I'd say, you gave me the wrong number. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, try this one. And I'm thinking she's giving me, and she 3 times. And then we ended up dating, and then we ended up getting engaged, and then we ended up getting married. And 39 years later, in October, we've been together all this time. But again, if her friend was shorter, if she was taller, I would have never met her. So I think, again, it's that inevitability that God says, you're meant to meet this person. Your life is meant to go on this path.
Correct.
And if you kind of are open to what you're being told to do, good things happen. I think.
You got to listen and
I think
follow
you do.
And all those signs.
And you have to not be afraid to, I was deadly afraid of going on stage. As much as I wanted to do it, I was scared. I mean, I was nervous, but I was and I have a little bit of butterflies every time I go on stage. And I tell myself, if I ever lose that, then I'll stop doing it. Because I want to have that little bit of nervousness until the first couple of jokes go off, or until that microphone stand is too high and people laugh at that. Then it starts to go away. But I don't ever not want to have that. I have that with music as well, and I have that with comedy, both.
So, I wholeheartedly believe God is just in the center of everything, and He knows how to move those pieces. I love how you explain that.
And I think God's a comic. Because why else would He make a bald guy bald and then still give him gray hair? Who would do that except the comic? It's like, I'm going to take away your hair, but what I leave you is going to be gray.
And like me, I teach 4th grade, and it's like all my students are my height. It's like,
so
walking down the hallway, you see me, I blend in with the students.
Yeah, I did that at the church I used to go to. They asked me to play drums for the children's choir. And at the end, I said, it's always nice to play with a choir that I can see eye to eye with. And they were all 4th and 5th graders.
Oh, yes.
So, I get that. But here's the thing. if you think back,
Mm-hmm.
in Jesus' time, the tallest person was probably 5'8".
Yes.
If you were over 6 foot, you were probably considered a giant back then.
Probably.
So Jesus, more than likely, was our height, Janice.
Yes.
So when we get there, we're going to be able to see eye to eye with him.
Yes, we will be.
So
able
I'm
to see
looking
it.
forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Absolutely.
I love that. So you have a couple. We only have a few more minutes left. We have a couple shows coming up.
I do.
Because you are getting back into being a full-time comedian, or
I am trying to. I'm going to retire from my full-time job next year. It's been a great run. I've been there for 19 years, and we serve a lot of communities with disabilities, all kinds of different ways, and it's been incredibly rewarding. I've met some of the most amazing parents and kids
And that
in my life.
organization again?
That is United Cerebral Palsy segment of Greater Chicago, and when I started working with people at this organization, I realized that heroes are not athletes, they're not celebrities, they're not people with money, they're not people with talent. They're people who 24/7 get up and do what they need to do every day. I always say that the definition of a hero isn't someone who does extraordinary things every day. It's someone who does everyday things in an extraordinary way.
Right.
And that's what these people that I've met have done. So I have 2 shows coming up. I have one in Bolingbrook coming up in a couple of weeks at a brand new club called GK Comedy. And then you met Bob J., who's a great friend of mine. He's also a wonderful impressionist. He and I are doing a show in Sandwich, Illinois. And I wish I knew where the club was because he never gave me the name of the club yet.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would give them a
But we
nice
can
plug.
check your Facebook page.
You can check my
And your
Facebook
Facebook
page.
name?
It's U.S. Navy Vet Vietnam.
Okay.
That's my Facebook name. It was Annivar Salgado
Navy
for a while, but I had to
Vet
change
Vietnam.
it. Yes, U.S.
Okay.
Navy Vet Vietnam. And if I could tell you why that is, if you're interested.
Yeah, we got a few moments, and we put it on there.
Well, you know, my son is a singer-songwriter.
Right.
And so every time he'd put something up, obviously I would share it, and I would put comments. I'd say, great
Right.
song. And he called me up one day, said, I need to ask you a favor. I go, what? He goes, I need you to stop posting about my stuff. I said, why? I'm very proud of you. He goes, yeah, but everybody knows it's you. They know you're my dad, and so it doesn't really mean a lot. So I said, okay, I get it. It
That's
made
why you
sense.
changed.
Yeah.
Right,
So I
okay.
had to change my moniker on
Okay.
Facebook so that I could still follow him and share, and not people wouldn't feel like, well, that's his dad. Of course he's going to say good things
Right.
about him.
Yes, okay.
But
That
it
makes
confused
sense.
a lot of my friends initially.
Okay. So you're going to do that in Sandwich and Bolingbrook, and you're going to have future shows.
Yes.
So I want everyone, we had the Facebook page on there. Please check on his Facebook page for any shows that are be coming up soon. If you also want to talk to him about music, and if you're a bongo player, need some information, he's also working for a great organization, United Palsy.
United Cerebral Palsy.
United Cerebral Palsy. If you need any information, contact him on Facebook for that also. I want to appreciate you having you on the show.
Thank you.
I hope to have you back on later on another time.
I'd
And
love
we're
to.
looking forward to seeing you in more stand-up, maybe on TV.
Yes.
So that'll be great. And also, people can check you out for the things you're doing now with United Cerebral Palsy. Okay?
Yep.
This is Janice with Why and Why Not. I want to thank you for watching our show. Check us out on Facebook, the letter Y, whynot.com. We're on YouTube also, in case you miss any of these extra episodes, past episodes, check us out on YouTube. Contact Annivar, and please write us. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Bye.